Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. Here's what's coming up on the program right now. Sticking to their threat, organized labor commences nationwide indefinite strike action following failure to agree with the federal government on a new minimum wage and government's refusal to reverse increase in electricity tariff. Labor unions working in the transmission company of Nigeria shut down power grid, resulting in nationwide blackouts as the strike commences. And Central Bank of Nigeria revokes license of Heritage Bank over its inability to improve its financial performance, a situation cited as a threat to financial stability. Welcome again to the program. Let's begin the tracking of the policy with the unease in the financial sector following Central Bank's decision to revoke the license of Heritage Bank with immediate effect. The Apex Bank cites the inability of the board and management of Heritage Bank to improve its financial performance, which constitutes a threat to the bank's financial stability. In a statement by the CBN, steps taken to reverse the poor financial fortune of the banks have failed, making a revocation of license inevitable in line with Section 12, Subsection 1 of the Banks and Other Financial Act, that's Buffer 2020, due to the breach of that act. The central bank has now appointed a Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation as a liquidator of the bank in good sense. And to the issue of stocks to their guns in down tools nationwide after they failed to reach an agreement with the federal government of a minimum wage and hike in electricity tariff. No fewer than 15 unions that are affiliated to the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress have directed their members to fully comply with the directive to go on the strike beginning this morning. And that's why we're being joined on the program by our correspondent, Dari, who is here to give us an update on how union members are complying with the directive by the National Party. Give us what you observe.
Say where there are a lot of the buy-in of the affiliate unions is not really led by the TNC or the NLC. The ability to get the buy-in of the affiliate unions, and also eating into the private sector, and just like the reported with the power sector and that sector as well. So kind of what they're doing, them going around and wanting to ensure that it's and also put a question so far. What happens if
we may have to come back to you at some point. We're struggling to hear everything you're saying, but I think we get the gist of what's going on. We'll get what you're saying. As soon as I will get that clarity, I will get back to you. But thank you so much for your reporting. This one is concerned with the directive by the NLC. Thank you, Dari. In Rivers State at the Port Harcourt Airport, the strike by Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria is in full swing, with the National Union of Air Transport Employees blocking access into the airport for vehicles. Passengers are forced to come down and walk into the airport. The chairman of the Rivers State chapter of the Association of the professional body, Mr. Emmanuel Ekaga, explains why passengers are still being allowed to come into the airport.
Victory, there is victory for us. In a struggle for our cause, there is victory.
NLC officials have locked out civil servants at the state secretariat in Owerri, the Imo State capital. That's what we're seeing this morning as far as this compliance is concerned. It's happening across the country. Away from Imo, we can head to the northern part of the country. Starting from the nation's capital, where the strike is in full effect at the federal secretariat, as workers are not allowed at the premises or into the premises of the federal secretariat. You can see literally close to getting close to a ghost town, just a few people walking around. And if we go up north in Kaduna State, students of Kaduna Polytechnic have been locked out of their campus by labor officials in compliance with the directive by the labor union. So you can see students right there in front of Kaduna Polytechnic. They can get as far as they can get just at the very gate, and anything beyond that, they are not allowed to get in. And the students have been speaking and asking labor unions as well as the government to do something. Meanwhile, the Kaduna State TUC chairman, Abdullahi Damfulani, says there is a total compliance to the strike by all affiliates of the unions, of the two labor unions rather. He says the strike will continue until the federal government does the needful.
The major stakeholders, the key offices in Kaduna have been shut down. Some of our members are there running around to enforce the directives of our national. When government do the needful, we are pressing for many things, but two are prominent. One, the issue of minimum wage, which has been lingering over since April. No resolution has been reached. The second one is the hike in the tariff for electricity. We want them to revert back to the former 165 naira per kilowatts.
Now, it appears the impact of the strike is already hitting hard on Nigerians. The transmission company of Nigeria has announced that the complete shutdown of the country's power grid by labor unions that are working with the TCN, announcing the shutdown of the national grid. In a statement by the TCN spokesperson, the transmission firm said the action was done by the workers. The TCN says that the labor union shut down the national grid following the strike action, resulting in a national blackout, while explaining that the national grid was shut down at around 2:19 a.m. Nigerian time this morning, June the 3rd, 2024. Let's get straight to our very first conversation. I have two people joining me, but first off, I want to talk with the Secretary General of the TUC, that's the Trade Union Congress, Mr. Nuhu Toro. He joins us via Zoom. Mr. Toro, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
So we know that the federal government has shifted grounds a couple of times, 48, 54, 60. Labor has come down. Maybe you tell us where labor is at this moment. But when you hear the federal government coming to at least 60,000 as against the initial proposal that Labour made, what did you make of that? Did you feel that they are serious? They are just looking at their pocket on what they can pay at a sustainable level?
Well, we are still of the opinion that the government is taking us for it. Asked for over 500,000 before, and now we are slightly subtraction above 400. And it suggests that they are taking us for a ride. Everybody knows one has hit the roof, and inflation get the value of the minimum wage. So if the government needs to show some sincerity and good, need to come up with something reasonable, and hopefully we'll strike at a balance. Have fixation is usually a product of give and to achieve at the end of the day.
Mr. Toro, I know it's collective bargaining, so everybody's trying to make adjustments and make compromises. What is reasonable in Labour's view? Apparently 60,000 is unreasonable. I'm sure that federal government is also feeling that where you put your amount over 400,000 is also unreasonable. So since government is not here to tell us their part, what is reasonable for Labour?
For Nigerian workers, first is that they will not earn less than, to have a fixation that is X or Y amount, that because we don't have a fixation, 6 digits could mean any amount. So we a 6-digit wage, and if that is anything to starting point of a 6-digit that is X or Y achieve for our workers.
Okay, so oh dear. Mr. Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes, if you can just say, maybe wrap up what you said in about 1 minute, because of network connection, we couldn't hear you clearly.
What I'm saying in essence is what ideally Nigerian workers require at the moment, that we are not caught to take anything less than a 6-digit. And we believe fervently, if there is a will, there will always be a way. The government should, as a matter of urgent importance, cut down on their wasteful spending, cut down on some of this frivolous spending, so that the workers that toil to create the to feed their family will be able to send their children to school and have a roof over their head. That's all. And the Nigerian Labour Congress is asking for. That's all.
All right, Mr. Toro, we're due for a break, but if I can quickly chip this in, it appears the network is improving in bits. For you, the federal government has come up with a statement through the Attorney General of the Federation. We read that statement, it came, I think, yesterday or so, where he's saying that there's a pendency of an interim injunction order barring Labour from embarking on this kind of strike. He also talked about 15 days notice and all of the goodwill and the many things he listed and cited in terms of legislation and extant laws. Subliminally or implicitly trying to perhaps suggest in people's view that this, if Labour continues with this action, it may result to federal government invoking the no work, no pay. Are you worried about that?
Sometimes they are not learned. It is very unfair for people to speak from both sides of their mouth when it pleases them. What the organized, it doesn't run foul of the law. Don't forget, the Labour Act empowers the organized labor to embark on an industrial action to fight for their rights and privileges. And that is what we are doing. And it's even laughable that somebody will assume that we didn't issue a 15 days ultimatum. I mean, it's really a pedestrian argument. When the government is supposed to tackle the substantial matter, which is minimum wage negotiations, they are trying to obtain some how do I even put it? They are trying to obtain some black market restriction to stop the workers from fighting for their rights. We cannot be cowed. We are determined. We are resolute. If they want to jail all of us, they should jail us. That will not stop us from ensuring that the right thing is done. If they jail the crop of leadership today, I can assure you that that is why we have layers of leadership in the union. Other layers will rise and will continue the fight until the right thing is done.
Mr. Nuhu Toro is the Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria. We hope that the federal government and organized labor will somehow find a common ground, because that's what everybody is praying for. Grounding activities is detrimental to the economy, but it's within your right to protest or even go on strike. We must thank you for coming on the program, Mr. Nuhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
We also hope
Okay.
Food.
Okay, we'll take this quick break. When we come back, I'll be speaking with those in the aviation sector because as we speak, airports, flights are not flying, things are grounded, people can't go to their destination, and that is as a result of this strike action. Join us again after the break. Now, before today's strike action, there was some last-minute attempt by the leadership of the National Assembly to kind of avert the strike. The lawmakers met with the leaders of the two labor unions on Sunday for over 4 hours with other top government officials. At the end of the meeting, however, the labor leaders announced that it does not have the powers to call off the scheduled industrial action, promising to take the plea to leadership of the National Assembly to other various organs. Let's take a listen to some of their perspective.
Been really difficult. In the last 1 year, that difficulty had even further exacerbated, and that is why this year's minimum wage conversation, it's a bit tough and it's a bit difficult. As at the last meeting, we were very, very close to signing off. I mean, close in the sense that if the figures were right, it's just to prepare a report and sign. So it's not something that is that lengthy anymore. But we have listened to them. We would take all their plea to our organs, and we would have an organs meeting taking what they have promised and the pleas that they have made to our organs. For now, we don't have the powers to call off the industrial action, so the industrial action will continue while we would have a conversation with our respective organs as soon as possible.
Well, that's the president of the TUC, Mr. Festus Osifo. Mr. Joe Ajero also made his remark, as well as the Senate president, or president of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio. We're now being joined on the program by Comrade Francis Nwogu Igwe, is the public relations officer of the National Association of Aircraft Pilots and Engineers, NAPE. He joins us via Zoom. Comrade, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's begin with some fact-checking. So we've seen some airports that there's compliance. People have been allowed to come into the airport, but flights are not operating. Is that what is happening across board in the country?
Yes, like you see in the statement released by the Aviation Union, we create a little chance. Like in the morning, the people who came to the airport very early they had access to the airport. But as time goes on, all the airport entrances were blocked. So I can say it's a total compliance.
Okay, this is a total. That's what I'm saying. Is across the country. Am I correct?
Across the country, all over the country.
So again, I'm going to ask you the question I asked Mr. Toro on this particular one. We are all looking for a middle ground, but nobody is suggesting what that middle ground is. Labor hasn't said. Labor has been on the high side. Government has been on the low side. But what is going to be favorable for labor if I put that question to you? Some people are saying 100, some people are saying 120, 150. So what is labor saying?
Yes. Of course, we are all Nigerians, and we know what happens in the market today. An average Nigerian worker cannot boast of an average living. And so whatever the level is agitating, I think they are agitating for a just cause. If Nigerian president should approve 500,000 or 400,000 as minimum wage for Nigerians, I don't think it's on the high side. I think we should even be looking at talking of living wage. We should have gone above minimum wage. Should be talking of living wage. And so labors are in the right track, and we give them our support. And we don't have doubt that they will represent us well.
Let's focus on the aviation sector. The aviation sector barely came out of some of the challenges they faced with the COVID, which was like 4 years ago. And now we're having this issue. Is the union, specifically that of the aviation sector, thinking about the long-term impact of what is going on right now? Because mobility, as far as air travel, is paralyzed.
there is no doubt that there's going to be a negative impact in the aviation sector, so long as this strike action is involved. But then, what do we say? These are the workers who are working for these industries. What is their life like? What they earn, what they take home is actually their motivating factors. In as much as we know there are going to be a lot of disruptions, both economic-wise, we will not fold our hands and say because our father is the one who comes to life for us, we'll kill him in overfeeding him. And so we plead with our stakeholders to bear with us and equally join us to compel the federal government to do the needful.
Maybe a very last one on this one as we begin to wind down. How long do you... I know the statement is indefinite. Can this really be indefinite given the impact we're feeling already? We heard what happened with the TCN, and now we're seeing what's going on with the airport. And eventually this is going to affect the cost of services and food and goods and services eventually, which we're already struggling with 33% inflation headline and 40% in food inflation. So how long do you think this is going to last, sincerely?
On our side, we take our directive from the labor centers. So no matter how long it lasts, the good thing is that we are prepared. Even if it's going to last up to 1 week or 2 weeks, all the labor affiliates are prepared to stand with the test of time. So long as the negotiation is ongoing, we'll be here until we are being redirected to shield our sword. We'll do the likewise, sir.
Mr. Francis Igwe is the Public Relations Officer of the National Association of Aircraft Pilots and Engineers. You're also an engineer. Thank you so much for coming on the program. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Absolutely. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, says efforts are on by the present administration to strengthen the fight against inflation and boost the economy. Speaking in our program Politics Today, Mr. Edun explains that the government is transitioning into the use of CNG, and this will better the economy.
That means that the more supply of foreign exchange we have, of course, the lower the price, and therefore the foreign exchange impact of fuel is lessened. Clearly, it is a combination also of pivoting away from petroleum imports by the time we are now focusing much more on CNG. So it is an ongoing conversation, it's an ongoing process of ensuring that fuel subsidy is eliminated from the Nigerian economy. That is what Mr. President's intent is, and that is what is being worked towards. And as I say, we do have reason to be optimistic. Difficult as it is, those particular difficult areas now are what is being focused on, including, I've said, fuel pricing, to get down transport costs, and even to put purchasing power back in the hands of Nigerians. And the fight against inflation is a fight for all, because inflation destroys not just the value of savings and the value of investments, but it hurts the whole fabric of society. And that's why Central Bank, as an independent controller of monetary policy, is emphasizing it. Nonetheless, the commitment to ease those pains is a very, very robust one, and it is going to keep having beneficial results as we go down the road. Nigeria is on the right path.
All right. Different things happening across the polity. Our responsibility right here on Lunchtime Politics is to track all of them. But is day one already? It's literally just past midday, almost 12:30 Nigerian time, and organized labor is still on strike. We hope that they get back to the negotiating table based on what government will propose eventually, so that all the grandstanding will stop. But thank you so much for your time and, of course, your usual company. We are following up on what's going on across the country in our subsequent bulletin across our programs. We'll be bringing you all of that update. Thank you so much for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzongo. You've been served on Lunchtime Politics.